Welcome to Coppers and Brass, a new series of programmes on Irish traditional music. During the series we're going to look at a number of topics that affect Irish traditional music which normally haven't been aired or debated enough in public.
Today people get the impression that travellers only came about a short time ago in the 1840s. That's incorrect. And it's quite dangerous insofar as that who we think someone is and our perceptions of somebody makes us think in a certain way about them. And very much so with travellers, because people think that we came through a default system, that we were some way damaged through a famine and damaged country people. Now let us rehabilitate them and re-assimilate them back into mainstream society. And that's a dangerous thing, rather than, which this programme is doing, which I'm really pleased about, is looking at the celebration of culture and celebration of identity, rather than trying to make someone into something that they're not. And I think that's why that question is so important. Who are Irish travellers? And it's a question I don't feel is asked often enough. Now, as I said earlier on, Tommy, to go into detail on that now, you may be prepared to sit for a couple of days on it.
Not at all.
You know what, when the first thing you hear of a set of pipes, like that they hear of pipes, what's the first name? I don't care which piper he is. First name comes into your head. Johnny Doran. Felix though.
Johnny Doran's grandfather was John Cash the Piper. He was a horse dealer and quite a wealthy one, you know. So he used to follow the country like in trains of horses. He'd bring them from the Midlands down to Kilkenny. There were cattle or horse fairs in different parts of the country at different times. So he would always have his pipes with him. So that's how he became known as Cash the Piper, and he became quite famous.
Cash the Piper, as he was known, is widely regarded as the patriarch of the musical dynasty of the Cashes and the Dorans. Each of the brothers became exceptional exponents of the Ireland pipes, but Johnny's playing is truly the stuff of virtuosity.
I had a lovely childhood, right up to that music. We'd be down the road and we'd be coming up skipping or dancing up to the music. When it'd make us all hold hands, all do the one step together.
No more we'll hear the primrose lass or the haunting sleeve no man. The winter's cold, it had taken hold when Johnny Doran said goodbye. But we still hear the music of the black-haired piper by. Oh, we'll never see their likes again, those travelling Doran by.
And I could see it in him, you know, I could see the pride that, and he loved the music, and he loved the fact that he followed, and he loved the fact that he was passing it on to me and my other brothers as well. And he could play slow air, Tommy, and honest to God, he would make the hair stand on the back of your neck.
Well, I've heard you play slow airs and it does the same effect with me, so it's something special.
They have, you see, it's not all Irish music. A lot of the time it's about set dancing, and a lot of the time it's about bounce and enjoyment and high life and spirit and all that kind of stuff. But then there's an awful sadness with some Irish tunes as well. And it comes across in slow air playing, you know.
More so than any, but it comes across in the dance music as well.
It does too, yeah. And that's part of it too, that sometimes is forgotten, you know.
And what's your approach to slow air? I mean, where do you go when you get inside that tune, in your head, in your soul?
I suppose what I'm trying to do, Tommy, is reflect on my own personality, my own spirit. I try to bring that out in the tune. Mm-hmm. And I love when I get that feeling playing a slow air myself, you know. I feel that I'm after doing something that's kind of, to my mind, no, not for everybody else. Sometimes I play a slow air and I say, I think I got that pretty right to suit me. You know, I get that feeling, you know.
Is the mood taking you at the moment for even a wee bit of it?
I'll give it a try.
Go on, do.
Who knows? You never know what might come out here now.
Doesn't matter, it'll be good, I know.
I'll try it slow air.
You're just a part of it anyway, you don't need it. For decades, the craft of pipe making had been seriously neglected, with demand for pipes outstripping supply. Even today, waiting lists of up to 10 years for a set of pipes from the most popular pipe makers is not uncommon. MPU has provided a custom-built, state-of-the-art workshop.
I get lots of requests from my pupils about Johnny Doran and Felix and in you know, Paddy Keenan, Finbar Fury. So I'm, as you know, part of the Doran Chenol committee that we run the Chenol in County Clare every year to promote the travelling style of playing the pipes. So I try to do it as much as I can. Joe Doyle, myself, Martin Nolan, we try to nurture what's left of. It is nearly a lost tradition, you know. It's very much in the minority now at the moment. The way of life for travellers has changed dramatically over the last 50, 60 years, and so the reliance on making a living playing music has diminished for them. So the style of playing has come down to a narrow kind of a point now.
And I would use this when I'm teaching students. I said, here's this and here's this. Now what we're going to do, the first time around we're going to put this one in here, and we're going to put this one in here, and the second time round we're going to switch them techniques around. So to use modern terminology now that came in with computers, cut and paste. And if you go back and listen to the lads, they're cutting and pasting. First bar he did an A roll, second bar he did 3 A taps. Second time round the tune he did the 3 A taps in the first bar, and in the second bar he did the A roll. Simple stuff, and you don't know where he's going next. And I sometimes think, I don't know, because again, we're back to this thing, I'm not inside their brains, but I actually don't know if they know what's coming next.
The traveller's style of piping is alive and well.
We're here on the 19th of March 2013 in the Cobblestone Bar in Smithfield. My name is Tom Mulligan. I want to introduce you to my family. You can figure out who they are when you're through to piece here. We're all descendants of Tom Mulligan from Barnacool and Leitrim, who left us this legacy, and we want to play a few tunes. We're going to play a selection of jigs here, the Lilton Banshee, the Killavel jig, and the Kesh for starters anyway. Okay. Three times round, right? Say it. Three. 1, 2, 3.
Can I just say that in the making of this particular episode, I was struck by the amount of people who wanted to say, come on and say something positive about Areada. And some of those people off camera were prepared to be more critical. And there's lots of people, well-known musicians, who wouldn't come on because they would want to be more balanced and more critical. And I wonder, why is that? Why do you think people revere him and at the same time are reticent about being critical of him?
Yeah. I think it's difficult to be critical about somebody who's had such an impact on the music, and such a positive impact. I suppose with my other hat on, not my musician hat, my lecturer hat as an academic, looking at some of the things, particularly our musical heritage, which was published as a book after the radio series, he was quite dogmatic in his approach to Irish music, and very black and white. Like the accordion was a shocking instrument for him, and for me the accordion is the essence of Irish music in a lot of ways. So he did have an impact on the academic side as well. People might have followed him too much without challenging some of these ideas that were very black and white.
A few bars that are instantly recognisable by the vast majority of people, you know, and its origins lie in music hall. The Hat My Father Wore, an old music hall song. And before that, the original air is regarded as being an ancient Irish air. Marching bands became into being in Ireland because the British military were marching in Ireland, and people that were watching them or had been in them adopted that tradition. The first use of marching music in Ireland on a wide scale was probably with the Irish Volunteers.
A result of interest in Ulster Scots culture, that people have found a route back in, Protestants have found a route back into traditional music, and the things that there's an open door there. It starts off maybe as a single identity thing, but it's inevitable once you get stuck into the reality of what traditional dance music is.
People from different parts of Ireland were, at a time when they were coming, when regional styles were still very strong, and they were coming together, did it not sound discordant?
It didn't. I think one of the best recordings to my mind of traditional music is Paddy and the Smoke, which was recorded in the Favours on the Holloway Road. And you can hear it in that. Somebody said to me afterwards that Danny Meehan in particular, but you could take Danny Meehan out of that session where he sounds part of it with the rest of them, but he could have been plucking the four-poster bed, or he could have been playing the Japanese hornpipe music that came directly from the Dohertys, or music that he'd have got in a Donegal style, clearly from Donegal. And I once saw John Curtin, a whistle player, Con Curtin's son, playing polkas on a whistle in about 3 o'clock in the morning in a pub in Fiddler's Elbow in Kentish Town. And there was a Clare man on the accordion with him, and John, they'd been playing together as a part of a big session with a lot of different musicians in it, and then Curtin broke off and started playing on the whistle, and maybe played for half an hour, maybe longer, and the Clareman had blisters on his fingers for trying to keep up with him. John Curtin turned around and said, you're very good, you did all right, but you'll never be a Kerry man. And I suppose to that extent, like, although they could all play together, they all could still be what they were to start with. It didn't really influence any of their styles. Maybe it influenced the style of people who came out of it, like John Carty, who grew up listening to that. Maybe the influence on the likes of the style of him, or certainly on the playing of John Blake. Like you can hear all the cassettes and all the late night music that John Blake ever had, particularly in his flute playing, I think.
Sometimes there's a standardised style, but then you always see different styles coming into the competitions. You see the Connemara styles and the Northern styles coming in, so there's a good mix, and I don't think it does much to influence what style people play with.
In some ways it's not as good because they rely too much on competitions rather than playing in proper Irish music in sessions and stuff like that.
Say for example, if it's a whistle competition or whatever, they're all looking for a certain criteria, and it all depends on who's sitting in the chair to whether you get through or not, or whether you get a first or a second. I don't think there's any room for any wildness. There's no room for any total individuality. That would be my opinion. And it just depends on who the judges are. On a different day you could have got a completely different result, depending on who's there in front of you.
I think we all know that it's up to the adjudicator, and because there's so many different styles of playing, that really it depends on the person on the day and their interests and what style they play. And as well as that, it's only you play once, so it's how you play on the day. So everyone knows that it could be just a slip up.
Eamon, could I ask you maybe to demonstrate what this whole subject is about musically, because, you know, words are fine, but very often the music speaks for itself.
Sure. Well, I suppose when we're speaking about boundaries, what I'm going to play now mightn't seem like it has pushed the boundaries, but basically I heard this recording of Paddy Keenan that he did. He did a recording with Paddy Glacken called Dublin in the 80s, the early 80s. And he played a tune called The Bunch of Keys. And at the time, what he was doing was, I suppose he was carrying on from Doran, from Johnny Doran. And he did his thing. Now, I'm not playing the pipes, but I'm going to try to carry on from what Paddy influenced me.
Lovely.
And you can hear there's a lot of style in the tune, in his version of it. And he does really push the boundaries with his version, and I'll do a couple of little things that are mine.
Breathtaking, and I can see what you mean. There's an awful lot going on in there, and I would love to have the time to discuss it in more detail. But we'll take a little break now, and when we're talking about pipers, we'll go to the Cobblestones again, where we've been every week, and for some musical entertainment. And Gail McKeown, one of Ireland's foremost pipers, is going to play a few tunes for us now.
There is this misconception, I think, that a session is a completely kind of open invitation to anybody to kind of join in, you know, including somebody that can tap a bottle with a coin, or, you know, that can go out and buy a barron and just sit into a session the next day.
There's definitely a bit of etiquette where you should kind of sit down and kind of be invited to play a tune. You know, play along with what they're playing, but if you're going to go starting tunes off, you kind of need to be sort of invited in a way.
Well, I remember talking about session etiquette. I was lying in a bed one day in the west coast of America, and I picked up a leaflet and I was saying session etiquette, and I started laughing at the idea of it. And I read through it, and it was all the things that we would have taken for granted. You know, when you arrive at a session, you sort of check it out, you're welcomed in. Obviously, it's your peer group. If you're obviously one of the better musicians or but more fun than others, you might be encouraged into the centre of the circle sooner than somebody else would.
Most sessions, and 99.99% of the sessions, will welcome anybody that comes in, introduces themselves and asks permission to join. And they're encouraged, you know, they are encouraged, you know. And I mean, that's where music soars. It's when it's all played together and played in unison and played at a nice pace, played, you know, where everyone is in harmony. And that's manners on a plate, you know.
common sense.
Common
good manners.
sense, yeah, manners, yeah, that's all it's about.
Tom, thanks a million for
God bless
coming
you,
in
Tommy,
and
you're
keep up the good work down the cobblestones.
We'll do that.
Next time I get a tap on the shoulder, I know I've broken the etiquette somewhere and Big Tom's after me. Anyway, that was Tom Mulligan, and I think a very appropriate way to end up not just the second series, but the whole 2 series, 12 programmes that we've been doing on Irish traditional music. I'd like to thank all of the staff, all of the volunteers, the musicians who took part, our studio audiences, and everyone associated with the programme. It's been a great journey of exploration for me personally, and I think most people involved in it enjoyed it, and hopefully we can come back again and do it soon. In the meantime, keep playing, keep it in music. Goodbye.